that. Because you have said these things, you have shared these talking points before.
They're not talking points, they're the truth.
But it is hard to take your word for it when this is the most corrupt administration in American history.
Well,
we're talking
opinion.
pardons for sale. We're talking about no-bid contracts to those on Trump's family and friends plan. We're talking about a $1.8 billion slush fund. And I think that's corruption. The American people think that's corruption. They want to know if you think that's corruption.
Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager Dove, the relentless lawmaker who personally secured the release of an American hostage in Venezuela, just dropped a political bombshell before walking out mid-hearing, exposing what looks like a massive multi-billion-dollar shadow empire. At the center of this web is Mauricio Claver-Carone, a former Trump envoy operating completely off the grid. He holds no official government position, files zero financial disclosures, and answers to absolutely no oversight committee. Yet, the Washington Post has dubbed him the unofficial U.S. Viceroy of Venezuela, the ultimate gatekeeper, single-handedly dictating which corporations get their hands on the nation's vast oil reserves. The conflicts of interest are staggering. As his private equity firm chases a $1 billion Latin American war chest, his partners are flying on private jets to Caracas alongside executives desperate for those exact same oil contracts. The smoking gun? In January, the administration quietly granted highly confidential oil licenses to two companies, including one previously charged with bribery by the DOJ, whose lead trader funneled $6 million straight into Trump's campaign. We are witnessing an unprecedented closed-door corporate plunder with zero transparency and zero accountability. If you want to help expose the truth and get exclusive deep dives into this unfolding scandal, hit the join button below to support the channel and keep this investigation going.
Mr. Secretary, 5 months ago, you essentially became the new overlord of Venezuela, taking control of the country's oil revenues and giving foreign companies access to its oil and minerals. But you have provided no real transparency about where the money is going and who is benefiting from this arrangement. I want to now talk a little bit about Mauricio Claver-Carone. So, Mr. Secretary, you've known Mr. Claver-Carone for many years, correct?
I don't know how many years, but sure.
Okay. We know that he was special envoy to Latin America. He's also a former lobbyist who supported your presidential campaign, I think in 2016. And now he runs a private equity firm that is seeking $1 billion in investments in Latin America. Apparently, he is seen as your right-hand man on Venezuela, but he's not a federal employee and he's not bound by rules about financial disclosures or conflict of interest. According to the Washington Post, he acts like a kingmaker in Venezuela, helping to determine which private companies get contracts and access. And that's concerning because in January, you gave confidential licenses for Venezuelan oil to a company that had been charged with bribery by the Department of Justice and employs a trader who gave $6 million to Trump's campaign. Some have said that Mauricio is the Jared Kushner of Latin America, but Mauricio has said that Jared Kushner is the Mauricio of the Middle East. So who is Mauricio, and why is he riding on private jets to Caracas with executives from firms trying to get contracts? And why is he texting Delcy Rodriguez on the regular? Who is he working for?
Okay.
I'm gonna allow you to respond. I'm setting this up because it looks unseemly that essentially you are taking Venezuelan oil money and sending it through a network of campaign donors, corrupt politicians, and lobbyists. And we can't get any documentation on that. We don't have any receipts. So the question is anyone from the administration, directly or indirectly, benefiting from the contracts being doled out in Venezuela?
Is this where I get to answer?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Number one is the number of people. Mauricio is one of many people that are involved in what's happening in Venezuela. There's not a day that goes by that we don't have someone who's interested in what's happening in Venezuela for a variety of reasons. Nor is he the only person in the United States that directly contacts Delcy Rodriguez and others. There is a stampede of people that want to be involved in Venezuela. Mauricio is one of many, but by the way, not involved in Venezuela. I am not knowledgeable or know of any financial links he has to anybody in Venezuela.
So I'm going to reclaim my time, Mr. Secretary, but I'm glad that you said that. Because you have said these things, you have shared these talking points before.
They're not talking points, they're the truth.
But it is hard to take your word for it when this is the most corrupt administration in American history.
Well, that's
we're
your
talking
opinion.
Pardons for sale, we're talking about no-bid contracts to those on Trump's family and friends plan, we're talking about a $1.8 billion slush fund. And I think that's corruption. The American people think that's corruption. They want to know if you think that's corruption.
Okay. Number two, this goes right to the point of transparency. You're absolutely wrong about the way the money flows. It's pretty straightforward, and I'll share.
So I'm going to have to reclaim my time again because the
what
question
kind of process
about
is this? They get to ask questions and you don't get to answer?
It's my time. The question
I don't know
about
about you. When
corruption
is it
is
my
really
time?
important.
So why am I
because
here if I don't get to answer your questions or your
I'm
defamatory statements?
reclaiming my time,
Reclaim.
Mr.
I want
Chair.
you to, but I want to reclaim. Well, do I get time?
This
Because you
is
make
my
these
time,
defamatory
Mr. Chair.
statements and no one can talk here.
If
This
you
is crazy.
can't call out corruption in this country, then how can you call it out in another
Well, I can't say
country?
anything 'cause you won't
That
let me
is the
speak.
question. It is about credibility and your credibility. And your credibility meter is on empty right now. This
See,
oil.
these guys
who
just get to talk and I don't get to
Who
answer?
determines the barrels of oil that get sold?
What?
How
But you
many
won't let
of them?
me
At
answer your
what
question.
price
I have an
does it
answer
get
for your
sold?
question.
Where is it going?
Oh, I get it.
will
They
let
have to
you.
use their time for me to answer
The
your
onus
question.
is on you to prove
joke.
that there is no corruption happening.
Well, how do I
That is
prove it if
your
you don't let me talk?
responsibility as the Secretary of State. And you know what? Normally we would have access to that data. That's the
You do.
transparency.
You just don't know where
but
to look.
you're not showing us any receipt. Well, then show us.
But
do you
you won't.
commit? Do you commit to coming back here with whoever the person is who is monitoring the sales of the oil? Bring them before this committee.
Can I
Show the
reclaim my
receipts.
time?
Have the documentation. You don't have this time yet. I am talking about your credibility and evidence, not your talking points, because talking points are never a replacement for transparency
I agree,
and
but that's what you're
documentation.
saying. You're saying talking
And
points
we
without an
have not-
answer.
We are 5 months into this and no audits. Zero visibility into the
100%
contracts that are
false.
awarded.
100%
Zero
false.
Unfortunately,
transparency about where
Representative
the money
time has
is
expired.
going.
Representative Salazar is recognized.
Yes. And giving contracts with no transparency
Can I
is
borrow your
exactly the
time to
reason
answer?
why you shut down USAID. So practice what you preach. I yield my
Oh,
time.
she gets to scream now too? Scream
Chairman,
and
can we
shout.
take down her words?
I'll give you some time. I'll give
Yeah.
you some of my time. Let me just
Okay.
just
Oh God,
change
what
the
kind of thing
energy.
is this? What is this? You get asked questions for 5 minutes and you don't get time to answer. It's not a hearing.
I think you said clown
Like
show
a dunk
before.
tank.
I
What
don't,
is
I don't
this?
have to tell you. I don't. I'll
I've
give
even
you
used
ti-
their time. How can I answer the question? They don't even give me time. I've had to use their time to answer your questions.
Yes.
All right, whatever.
All right, so I don't need to tell you that in my community, the city that I represent, the city of Miami, you're one of the most illustrious representatives, and that we're very proud of you, not only the Cuban Americans, but the Hispanic Americans in my
Why is she
community.
leaving? I'm
So
going to answer her questions.
I will.
Oh, she's going. Okay, I got it. Well, thank you for coming.
All right, so we're going to talk about. I just want to give you time to answer, and then talk about Venezuela and talk about Cuba. So let's go back to Venezuela. Let's start with that. You said that stabilization, recovery, and transition. Those are the three steps that the State Department was going to implement in Venezuela. I believe that transition is the free and fair elections. The Venezuelan has a very robust opposition forces. We have Maria Corina Machado. So the big question here is that in order to avoid any type of misunderstandings like the one that we were hearing from my illustrious colleague, is that we should have free and fair elections that will bring rule of law, and the rule of law will then be able to bring in a lot of investments from the United States with transparency. Why can we not start right now the process of sending the message that we are going to establish, let's say next year, at the end of next year, a free and fair election sponsored with the United States or by the United States?
Yeah, thank you. Well, it all ties together, so I'm going to try to use the...
It all ties together.
Okay.
Correct.
So let me first say about the oil stuff, which is a bunch... I don't even remember half the stuff that was being screamed at me because most of it not entirely is false. Here's what happens. When there are sales of oil from Venezuela, they used to, sell it at a discount because of sanctions, and they had to do all kinds of evasive matters. Now they're able to sell it at market price to great benefit to the Venezuelan people. That money and those proceeds are deposited in a treasury blocked account at Citibank. That account, by the way, is audited by KPMG. KPMG has been hired and paid by the Venezuelan government out of those funds to audit every single expenditure. There is a list that's been agreed to by both sides, the Venezuelan side and the US side, on what the allowable expenditures are for. So for example, they've used 250.
I need to go to 3 other countries, so I'm not sure what the chairman wants to do, but I understand that you're answering her question.
Oh, but this is but it's tied to your point because
right.
they'll be able to do the other ones quickly thereafter. Again, I know this is outrageous because I have to use your time to answer
That's
questions.
correct, but I need to serve the community. I need to ask you about other countries. So
well, bottom line is the money that's spent in Venezuela is audited by KPMG. It only goes to certain determined points, and it doesn't go to the individual benefit of anybody.
The recent mid-hearing walkout by Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager-Dove was not an act of political theater, but a blaring alarm bell exposing what appears to be an unprecedented multi-billion-dollar shadow empire operating completely unchecked. As the relentless lawmaker who personally secured the release of an American hostage wrongfully detained in Caracas, Kamlager-Dove has first-hand knowledge of the region's political landscape, making her damning allegations all the more credible. She laid bare a staggering reality. After seizing control of Venezuela's oil revenues following the January abduction of President Nicolas Maduro, the Trump administration essentially handed the keys to the nation's wealth over to an unaccountable private fixer who actively funnels contracts to major campaign donors. At the epicenter of this closed-door operation is Mauricio Claver-Carrón, a former envoy dubbed the unofficial U.S. Viceroy of Venezuela by the Washington Post. Despite holding no official government position, filing 0 financial disclosures, and answering to absolutely no congressional oversight, Claver-Carrón is the singular gatekeeper dictating which American corporations get lucrative access to Venezuelan oil and managing the restructuring of the country's $170 billion sovereign debt. The conflicts of interest are staggering. While he dictates this economic monopoly, his private equity firm, the Lara Fund, is actively hunting for $1 billion in Latin American investments, and his business partner is reportedly flying on private jets to Caracas alongside corporate executives, desperate for the very contracts he controls. This dark machinery culminated in January when the administration quietly granted confidential oil export licenses to Vitol and Trafigura, 2 trading houses previously charged with bribery by the DOJ, one of which directly funneled a $6 million campaign donation from a top commodity trader. When directly confronted with these unassailable facts, Secretary of State Marco Rubio could not produce a single receipt, clarify who Claver-Carrón truly works for, or explain this blatant cronyism, opting instead to bitterly complain about his allotted speaking time. When the highest diplomatic office in the United States cannot deny these documented financial pipelines or explain why bribery-plagued donors are receiving confidential foreign monopolies, walking out isn't a stunt. It is the only appropriate response to a total vacuum of accountability. If you want to stand with us in exposing these shadow networks and holding the powerful accountable, hit the join button below. Unfiltered, independent reporting is the only way we can continue pulling back the curtain on this unprecedented corruption. Support the channel, get access to exclusive deep dives, and help us keep the truth alive.